This is part 2 of the Module 3 Types of Blended Learning online meeting. This is Rochelle facilitating the meeting for you. For this next section and the third section, I have asked my son, Bennett, who is a senior at St. Clair High School and taking blended and online classes, if he would share his experience both as a blended learning student and also to demonstrate Haiku, which is one of the platforms that is given as an option in our course. In this first section, he will show Haiku with a forensic science class with a teacher who has a subscription-based Haiku, and in the next section, he will show a different class with a different use of the Haiku platform. Thank you, Bennett, for agreeing to share your expertise as a student and demonstrate Haiku for us.
Okay, hello, I'm Bennett. It's nice to meet you guys. Right now I am showing you guys my forensic science Haiku learning. This is my flex hour, and my flex hour means that Tuesdays and Thursdays I do not come into school, and that time I spend either falling, like staying asleep and then coming into school late if I'm an early bird. And again, that's only for this class. I only do not come in for forensics, and then I come in for the rest of my classes. Or I just go into the library or a study hall and just work on assignments. This is great for the class because our class in general has no missing assignments, and unlike most classes I've been in where people usually pack up 5 minutes early because everybody wants to get their work done so they can have their flex hours to do other things, they're working till the end of the hour, which is great for everybody. So I'll just show you guys around on this Haiku Learning website. You notice at the top it says ecsd.haikulearning.com, and that is because this is through the East China School District, which is what ECSD stands for. The home pages for both the other one I will show you guys and this one are the same, but I'll just go through it really quick. Here are the active classes that I am in. There's only one, and you see how this is color coordinated with the other things on the home page. If I had more than one class through this program, then it would show multiple colors and it would show you everything. This is again just a home page for all of the classes, but since I only have one, it is showing just the one color. Here's my calendar. You can go through to each individual day and see what you need to do. My grade is listed here. There are no new announcements, but you can see that usually here. And the recent activity is shown, so I can see what has been updated, what's new, and what I'll have to turn in the near future. Down below are recent grades, so I can see what I have gotten on assignments, and I can see if my teacher left me any notes, such as this one where it says "Good info, Bennett." So now I'm going to go ahead and click the forensic science class. In this forensic science class, you see that he left us a little note. This is kind of like an intro into the classroom. It's just a little hello. There are class announcements on the side. This hasn't been really updated, but there's things just for everyone to look at. Down here are business files. These are waivers and stuff that we had to sign in order to take the flex hour opportunity. The great thing about this website, which I'll show you guys right here, is the sidebar. And the sidebar has the chapters that we're working on and the textbook chapters. The great thing about this textbook chapters option is that I do not need an actual textbook in my hand to take this assignment, this course. I can just download these PDFs for the chapters, and with that I can just, if you have Windows 7 or above, you can make a multi-screen and have the chapter on one side with the assignment on the other, and that's what I do. This is great because you're saving a lot of books that are used, and overall in a class like this where a basics to forensics doesn't change that often, the books can remain healthier and stay in shape better longer because people are using the online opportunity. So that was the regular pages thing. The calendar, again, this is a calendar made for only this specific class, which will show you all of the assignments and what days they are due and any notes he wants to have. This looks a lot like the one on the home page, but again, that's because only one class is through this. And the Connect tab is usually where you can see if there are any posts or discussions or forums. We do not do a lot of that in this class because we Monday, Wednesday, and Friday meet in the class. We do that he decides to do that in that time. But you can see that he left us some notes, and in the Dropbox, there are some you can turn things in the Dropbox. Over in the Assess tab, you can see all of the assignments, both handing in online and the ones handed in during the class. And the great thing about that is now that it's organized, some people have a lack of organization with planners and calendars and keeping stuff in their folders, but everything's online and everything's there forever because nothing ever leaves the internet. So that's, it's really fantastic that everything is right there. You can see when upcoming tests are. I haven't had any yet. There's also a grade book. And the gradebook shows all of my, again, similar to the one on the main page just for this class. And you can see all of the notes and whatnot that he left. And any reports that he has for us, which he hasn't had any, you can see in that tab. Now that's the forensic science class. So again, just to go over some of the things, this forensic science class I've had a great time with. One of the great things about it is, and again this was brought up during the discussion, I have a lack of organization, and because everything is online and everything is set up in such a structured format, it allows me to be able to turn everything in on time and have everything at hand readily available. This has been a huge problem for me in the past just because missing assignments would kill my grade. And even though that was my fault, having this as a ground to just, get rid of any of those problems is better for both the teacher and the student. What I will say about this forensics class is that although there's everything turned in online, and this is the actually paid for through the district licensed website, ecsd.haikulearning, Mr. Perrin, my forensics teacher, decides to use this more as this is where you're going to turn stuff in and this is where I can hand you assignments. As opposed to, there's a lot more that you can do with Haiku Learning. You can set up a lot of databases, a lot of different assignments, a lot of things on this main sidebar as opposed to just chapters. And I think you'll see more of that in the French class that I'll show you next. Alright, so for this class, this is my French class. You can see that that it's generally the same page. The only reason these two classes aren't together is because one's using a licensed account while the other one is just trialing this out. Now, I actually like the way that Miss Rick uses this more than Mr. Perrin because there's a lot more of a structured format that she's been experimenting with, and there's a lot more things you can do with it. Again, this is the main page. You see all the colors coordinate. You can see my grade. Nothing's different on here, so I'll go ahead and click my French 4 class. You see again another intro, except this is in French, so bear with me. You see, you can see that this is a little different than before. There were notes over here where this is a picture, and you can see there's website links at the bottom, which is Google Docs, Texas French Grammar, and Word Reference. This is great because this is the databases she wants us to use. Since it's the most readily available, I use those the most, and it works out. You can see your contact information. Now this is the most important part about hers, is this sidebar right here. You can see over in the forensic that this is just chapters, as opposed to in French you have all of these different options. For example, you go through each day, you go through the daily schedule, and we just go on this class and go through what we have to do each day. Just to further explain this class, this is a French 3 and French 4 split class, meaning that we meet in the same class, but we do different things. So she decided, since we only have 4 kids doing French 4 and over 12 doing French 3, that we were going to do ours online, kind of as a trial and error kind of deal. Really no error at this point. It's more been just a really fun learning experience. You can see that, if you go to the French 4 home, that it's the same, but as you go through some of these different tools, there are things to just go through all of the haiku information so that you know where everything is. You see the verb du jour sheet, which is verb of the day en français, and it's a different sheet where it's kind of like a daily warm-up, like how you do a couple math problems for each before doing the actual assignment in a math class. and you go through all the tenses, and this is again another database that she set up that we can just turn in through Haiku every day, and she gets the grade. You see review from the last class, because it's important, especially in language, to remember the things in order to progress. You see things about history, so there's, again, it's kind of like having different folders in your binder so that you can be more organized. This is what these tabs are used for, and I really like the way that it's set up. Again, you see that the calendar is the same. There's a little bit more because we do everything online. There's the connect. You can see through the Dropbox that there's more there. There's more used, and what you didn't see before on the other website was the polls and wiki projects. We haven't had any polls or wiki projects yet because it's been so so early in the year. But basically, what wiki projects are is it's sometimes you'll use a Prezi. I'm sure you guys have used something like that before to turn in projects. And basically, wiki projects is where you can have all the kids in the class pick a part of a project and do it. Kind of how if you're trying to get through a chapter near the end of the semester before an exam because it's required material, you would give each group a section to work on and have them all present so everybody's getting the information. That's how wiki projects work. Also, polls are an interesting way to see how everybody's doing or how students feel about certain situations or assignments, just to see what they're interested in. And that is basically my Haiku Learning experience. The one thing that I forgot to show you guys that I'll show you guys right now is turning in assignments. What I do is I go to the calendar, and I go from this calendar, I click on what needs to be turned in. You can see that this assignment's posted. There's a little note, and then you can either go to the Dropbox or hand in. I usually hand in from the calendar just to see what's due for that day. And what you can either attach a Word document or PDF or something of that format, or what I do, which is generally the easiest way for me, I use Google Docs. So in Add a Note, I can post an HTML or URL so that it goes straight to the assignment that I have readily available for her to see. And she told me that it's the fastest way to process the information because documents sometimes take a while to load. Well, that's still on the internet. The other way that you can turn in assignments is you can go to the Dropbox. And in this Dropbox, you see that all of the assignments that are due, when they're closed or open, so like if you still have time to do it or if you should have already turned it in, and then you can press the hand in button, and again it brings you to the same thing. And those are the two ways that you can turn in assignments. The great thing about this is because it's a French 3 and 4 split, we can be working on all of these assignments that she's already posted for us while she's teaching the French 3 class what we learned last year. And when we need any help, we can always ask her a question. But while they're doing assignments, she can come in and either help us with any questions we have, or just teach us, just a regular assignment. So that is basically my blended learning experience this year in a nutshell so far. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that having some of the days off or being in a different structured environment has kept me interested, entertained, and again, occupied with information that I otherwise wouldn't care about. Forensics isn't something that I'm looking into the future for, but I'm still enjoying it based on the new learning experience. Again, French 4, I know that I have been doing a lot better on assignments as opposed to I would last year, and that's helping me out a lot, especially since I'm going to visit Paris this year. So things like that, the new experiences have helped me out a lot. I would suggest doing it if you were to start Haiku Learning as your first time out. I would do it in a structure of French 4 where you have things to go through, such as the haiku tutorials, and that way everyone can learn how to use this. If you go through the tutorials, you're going to have a lot more opportunities educationally to just expand the database in general, as opposed to just turning things in with textbooks. But if you could have both the textbooks and have these extra things over here, you could virtually have this class online and have that and not even have to meet with them. That's how much you can do with this website. Thank you for letting me share my story. I really appreciate it, and I really think that this blended learning idea and learning behavior is one of the ways it's going to be used a lot more often in the future. So using something like this is very great.
Thank you for joining us as Bennett reviewed both blended learning from a student perspective and the use of Haiku as a platform.